It is a singular fact that life at Baker Street was as often colored by moments of stillness as by bursts of tempestuous activity. Indeed, the quiet stretches between cases seemed to sharpen my friend Sherlock Holmes' as though his mind gathered strength in repose, preparing for the next problem to present itself at our door. I, Dr. Prest, John Watson, had by now been long accustomed to his habits, and though I often found him maddening in his eccentricities, there was no man I admired more. The reader will forgive me then if I take pen to recount a matter which began in that languid summer of 1881, an affair which grew out of the most trivial of beginnings and blossomed into one of the strangest adventures of my acquaintance. On the morning in question, Holmes was lounging upon the settee, his thin fingers steepled, eyes half closed, though I knew full well he was anything but asleep. The familiar fog of tobacco smoke hung about him, for he had been pipe in hand since breakfast. The air was close with heat, yet he seemed impervious to discomfort, hiding scribbling notes for a medical article, my ears keenly alert to his every sigh or murmur. Holmes, you have been curiously silent all morning. Does the heat sap even your remarkable energy?
My dear Watson, when the weather grows oppressive, I find the human mind, at least mine, seeks exercise in spheres other than the corporeal. Observe, for example, your ink blot upon the margin there.
What of it? Surely the hand may slip when distracted.
Elementary. But the cause of the slip is not mere accident. You began your sentence with vigor, then your pen faltered at precisely the moment your eye was drawn to the window. The angle of your writing, the spreading of the ink, all confirm it. You were momentarily lost in contemplation of the hansom cab outside, were you not?
Laughs. Upon my word, Holmes, I had indeed glanced out. But how could you possibly?
My dear fellow, I have told you countless times, once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. Your paper is evidence enough.
His smile, faint yet unmistakable, told me he had made his little point with satisfaction. Such trifles amused him when larger matters were scarce. And yet, even as I protested his perpetual air of superiority, the sharp ring of the bell below announced the arrival of something that would occupy our minds more profitably. A few minutes later, Mrs. Hudson ushered in a young gentleman of refined appearance. He bore the pale complexion of one who lived much indoors, though there was intelligence in his eye and a certain gentleness of manner. He bowed to us both with a nervous air.
Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, if I mistake not. I beg your pardon for intruding upon your morning, but I was advised you might lend your counsel in a delicate matter.
Pray be seated, sir. You have come at precisely the right moment, for we were in danger of dying of ennui. Your name, if you please?
Dr. Percy Trevelyan, at your service. I practice medicine in Brook Street.
I have heard of you, sir. A neurologist of some distinction, if I'm not mistaken.
You are too kind, doctor. I studied under Charcot in Paris, and my thesis upon obscure nervous disorders was honoured beyond my deserts. Yet I am, as it were, still young in my profession, which brings me to the curious predicament that compels me to seek your advice.
Proceed, Dr. Trevelyan. State the facts plainly, for it is facts we must always rely upon.
Our visitor drew forth a handkerchief and dabbed his brow. It was plain the telling cost him some exertion, as though he were not wholly at ease in seeking help from strangers. Nevertheless, he rallied and began his tale.
2 years ago, I found myself at a crossroads. I had my diploma, my modest knowledge, and my ambitions. What I lacked was capital. Physician's practice, especially in the fashionable quarters, requires a handsome establishment. My means were slender, and my family could provide no more than moral encouragement. It was then that I received a most unexpected proposition.
A proposition? From whom?
From a man calling himself Mr. Blessington. He was of middle years, somewhat florid, with a manner half genial, half guarded. He had heard of my academic distinctions and called upon me in person. His offer was as follows. He would purchase for me a fine house in Brook Street, furnish it, and provide the means to maintain a carriage and staff. In return, I should admit him to reside there as a sort of silent partner. The profits of the practice would be his to share, though he demanded no active role beyond occupying rooms upon the top floor.
A curious arrangement indeed. Did you inquire into his motives?
Naturally. He confessed he was a man of retired means, desirous of quiet companionship. He spoke vaguely of enlistments and the necessity of living unobtrusively. At the time I thought little of it. I was a struggling physician, offered every advantage. What choice had I?
And has the arrangement prospered?
In truth, yes. My practice has flourished. Yet of late, Mr. Renzo, Blessington has shown extraordinary agitation. He keeps to his rooms, ventures out seldom, and at night I hear him pacing. 2 days past he came to me pale as death, declaring that they were upon him. Who they are, I cannot say. He begged me to remain at home each evening, lest some mischief befall.
Did he explain further?
Only that he lived in dread of some retribution. He insisted the locks be changed and that the staff admit no stranger. I endeavoured to soothe him, but his terror was beyond reason. This morning he implored me to seek you out, Mr. Holmes, and entreat your presence at our house without delay.
Leaning forward. Aha! Then the matter is not one of your imagining, but of his. You suspect, perhaps, that his fears are founded?
That is precisely why I come. I cannot reconcile his panic with the life of a man who claims only to desire retirement.
Holmes tapped his yawned fingers upon the arm of the chair, his eyes gleaming with sudden interest. I knew that look well. The game had begun.
Dr. Trevelyan, you have done wisely to come. The affairs of a nervous man may appear trivial until they erupt into calamity. If you will permit us, Watson and I shall accompany you to Brook Street this very afternoon.
Indeed, Holmes, I should be most curious to observe your patient in his natural habitat.
You would place me under the deepest obligation, gentlemen.
With that, the young physician took his leave, promising to expect us at 3. Holmes rose at once and began pacing the room, his energy suddenly rekindled as though a fire had been lit.
Watson, the situation is most suggestive. Consider it. A retired man of means attaches himself to a young doctor, provides capital, and secludes himself in the upper rooms. Suddenly, he is seized with terror at unseen enemies. The inference?
That he is hiding from someone or something in his past.
Precisely. And it is the past, not the present, that casts the longest shadows. We shall see what manner of ghost haunts Mr. Blessington.
Gende, thus it was arranged, and so began an adventure that was to lead us into strange chambers of fear and vengeance. Little did I dream, as we set forth from Baker Street that afternoon, how dark a history lay behind the respectable doors of Brook Street, nor how close we ourselves should come to danger before the truth was laid bare. Afternoon, as the great clock of Westminster tolled 3, Holmes and I set forth in a hansom cab for Brook Street. The weather had grown sultry, the air heavy with that peculiar stillness which often precedes a storm. Holmes, his head sunk low upon his chest, was lost in thought, while I, unable to restrain my curiosity, ventured now and again to question him as to his impressions of Dr. Trevelyan's tale. Hey, Holmes, what think you of this Mr. Blessington? Is he merely a hypochondriac, plagued by imaginary foes, or something darker?
My dear Watson, in your medical career, you must have observed that fear is seldom without a cause. A man who trembles at shadows often trembles because the light, however faint, illuminates something real. Blessington's agitation may be exaggerated, but it is not born of nothing. We must discover what phantom of the past he has conjured to himself.
Yet surely a man of means and leisure has little to dread in so quiet a street.
On the contrary, wealth is often the heaviest chain a guilty conscience must bear. But let us reserve judgment until we have seen the patient.
Our cab drew up before a handsome house of red brick, its polished steps and brass fittings proclaiming prosperity. Doctor! Trevelyan awaited us in the hall, his face betraying relief at our arrival.
Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, you do me a great kindness. Mr. Blessington has grown so restless that he scarcely sleeps. I trust your presence may bring him some measure of comfort.
Lead on, sir. Let us waste no time.
We ascended a broad staircase carpeted in green and were conducted to the uppermost floor. There, in a chamber richly furnished yet curiously disordered, we found the figure of Mr. Blessington. He was a man of stout build, the Sanames, with a florid face that might once have denoted joviality but was now distorted by constant dread. His hands shook, and his eyes, bloodshot from sleeplessness, darted to every corner of the room as though expecting assailants to burst through the walls.
Gentlemen, thank heaven you are come. I am a marked man. Aye, marked for destruction.
Pray, compose yourself, Mr. Blessington. We are here to advise you not to indulge unfounded terrors. Tell us clearly what danger you apprehend.
They are hunting me, sir. They have tracked me even here to my sanctuary. I saw them but yesterday. 2 men, loitering by the railings, whispering together. Their very presence chilled my blood.
What men? Describe them if you please.
One was tall, dark, with piercing eyes. The other shorter, heavy-set. Foreigners, I think, though I dared not approach. They watched the house, I tell you.
And have you reason, beyond mere suspicion, to believe they intend you harm?
Hesitates. I cannot say more. It is enough that I know them. They have cause to hate me. Bitter cause. You must protect me, Mr. Holmes. You must guard my life.
Protection can only follow knowledge. Unless you confide in me fully, I am powerless to assist.
Wringing hands. No, no. I dare not speak. It would ruin me. All I ask is that you watch the house, that you and your friend keep vigil here.
Holmes regarded the man with cold scrutiny. Indeed, I knew that look well. It was his habit to pierce through the fog of words to the heart of a mystery. Yet for once, the object of his gaze quailed and refused to yield.
Very well, sir. We shall keep our eyes open. But remember this, concealment may be more perilous than confession. On guess as laws. Should you change your mind, I beg you to summon me at once,
You promise you will return?
if necessity demands it. For the present, rest easy. Watson and I shall make our own inquiries.
The stout man clutched Holmes's sleeve with almost pathetic eagerness, but Holmes shook him off gently and turned toward the door. Doctor, Trevelyan followed us to the landing, his expression one of helpless concern.
You see, gentlemen, how he is plagued. His fears grow with each hour. Can nothing be done?
Something may be done, but only when your friend resolves to treat us as allies rather than intruders. Until then, we can but observe.
We descended the staircase, and Holmes paused to survey the premises with that keen eye which noted every trifling detail. He examined the front door, the locks, even the footmarks upon the gravel outside. Finally, he hailed our cab and motioned me within. Well, Holmes, what is your verdict?
Our patient is in mortal terror of what he will not say. Yet the arrangement with Dr. Trevelyan is the very key. Why should a man of capital bury himself in another's house unless he sought concealment from the world? And concealment, Watson, is the twin brother of guilt.
Do you believe him a criminal then?
I believe him a man with a past. Whether that past condemns him or merely entangles him with dangerous associates, we shall soon discover.
For several days thereafter, Holmes kept a watchful eye upon Brook Street. We strolled by in the evening, and more than once I observed him halt suddenly, scanning the passers-by with his hawk-like glance. Yet nothing occurred to justify Mr. Blessington's terrors. The supposed loiterers did not reappear, and the house remained outwardly tranquil. It was on the fourth night, however, that events took a more sinister turn. I had just retired when Holmes burst into my room, fully dressed, his eyes blazing with excitement.
Up, Watson! There has been an attempt at burglary in Brook Street. Trevelyan has sent for us in haste. Not a moment to lose.
Within half an hour, we were once more in the doctor's handsome residence, where a scene of confusion met our eyes. A pane of glass in the back door had been shattered, and muddy footprints tracked across the tiled passage. Dr. Trevelyan, pale with agitation, hurried to meet us.
Gentlemen, you see how justified were Mr. Blessington's fears. The villains forced their way into the very house. Tomahawk! Had the servant not raised the alarm, who knows what might have happened?
Were they apprehended?
Alas, no. They fled before the police arrived.
And where is Mr. Blessington now?
In his room, trembling like a child, he declares it is the beginning of the end.
We mounted once more to the upper floor, where we found Blessington huddled in his armchair. No, his face ashen, his lips quivering.
You see, they are upon me. This is but the first assault. They will return, and next time I am lost.
Courage, sir. The house is well guarded and the police are on alert. But you must tell me all. Who are these men? What debt do you owe them?
Cover his face. I cannot. I dare not.
Then you doom yourself. Only by candor can we save you.
No, no, not yet. Give me but a day, Mr. Holmes. One day to gather my strength. Then I shall confide in you, regarding you.
Very well. Tomorrow evening, then. But remember, the truth is your only shield.
Holmes spoke with stern finality, and without waiting for reply, turned on his heel and left the room. As we descended the stair, I could not restrain my frustration. Holmes, surely we cannot leave him in such peril. The man is nearly unhinged with terror.
And yet, Watson, until he bares his soul, we can do nothing. Secrets, like wounds, fester when concealed. Tomorrow will tell us much.
Alas, tomorrow was to tell us more than either of us had foreseen, for even as the storm broke upon London that night, so too was the storm gathering above the head of Mr. P. Blessington one, that neither his locks nor his secrecy could long withstand. The following day dawned with a heavy, oppressive sky. Storm had broken during the night, and though the rain had ceased, the streets glistened with moisture, and the air hung thick with a damp chill. Holmes was in restless spirits, pacing the sitting room, his violin discarded upon the table, his pipe neglected.
The crisis approaches, Watson. By tonight we shall know whether Mr. Blessington has the courage to save himself.
You believe then that his life truly hangs in the balance?
My dear fellow, when a man trembles at every footfall, changes the locks of his house, and implores strangers to guard him, his fears are seldom without justification. The attempt of last night proves that his enemies are real. The question is, who are they, and why do they pursue him with such determination?
As the clock struck 7, we once again drove to Brook Street. Dr. Abe William greeted us at the door, his face drawn with fatigue.
Gentlemen, I am heartily relieved to see you. Mr. Blessington has scarcely eaten all day. He insists upon locking himself in his chamber, emerging only to pace the corridor. I feared his mind is near to collapse.
We must speak with him at once. His delay can no longer be excused.
Remounted the familiar stairs and entered the gloomy apartment. There sat Blessington, his great frame slumped, his hands twitching nervously. The heavy curtains were drawn, casting the room in half shadow, as though he dreaded the very light of day.
Well, sir, the time has come. You promised us last night that you would reveal the truth. Will you keep your word?
Us. Must I? Can you not protect me without it?
Impossible. Without knowledge, I am as a blind man in a maze. You cannot fight phantoms unless you know their form. Speak, Mr. Blessington. Your very life depends upon it.
After a long pause, very well, you shall have it. But God help me, I speak at my own peril.
He drew a trembling breath, rose, and began to pace the room, wringing his hands as he spoke.
Years ago, I was not known as Blessington. I bore another name, one I dare not utter now. I was a man of questionable character, consorting with associates of the lowest stamp. We lived by fraud, trickery, and worse. But at last I betrayed them.
Betrayed them?
Aye, when the law laid its hand upon us, I turned evidence against the others. I purchased my freedom by giving testimony that consigned them to prison.
And these men, how many?
4 desperate villains. They swore vengeance upon me, but they were sent to penal servitude, and I believed myself safe. I changed my name, invested my ill-gotten gains, and strove to live respectably. For years I was left in peace.
Until now.
Until now, their terms have expired, and they are free. They have tracked me down. I know it. I feel it. Those faces I saw by the railings, i.e., there were 2 of them, beyond doubt.
You are certain?
As certain as I am of my own existence. They will never forgive. They will never relent. I am doomed, Mr. Holmes, doomed.
Firmly. Nonsense. The law can protect you if you assist it. Why not place yourself under police guard at once?
No. The scandal would ruin me. My past would be laid bare. I could not endure the disgrace. You must find some other way, some quiet means to thwart them.
Coldly. You ask for miracles, sir, but I will do what I can.
Blessington sank back into his chair, groaning softly, as though the weight of his confession had drained him utterly. Holmes regarded him for a long moment, then turned to Trevelyan and myself.
Gentlemen, we have the truth at last. There is work ahead. I must examine every detail of last night's attempted burglary. Dr. Trevelyan, would you oblige me by showing me the back premises once more?
Clearly, Mr. Holmes, this way.
We descended to the lower passage, where the pane of glass still bore evidence of forcible entry. Holmes scrutinized the shards upon the floor, the scratches upon the wood, the muddy prints leading toward the yard.
Observe, Watson, the impressions of two distinct pairs of boots, one narrow with a pointed toe, the other broad and square. Both men entered, yet retreated in haste when disturbed. The prints are fresh, proving they came after the rain had ceased. Our quarry is bold, resourceful, and relentless.
Then they will return?
Undoubtedly. The question is, when and under what guise?
The worthy captain said. We returned to Blessington's room, where he sat staring vacantly at the carpet. Holmes bent over him with sudden intensity.
One question more, sir. Of the 4 men you betrayed, you say you saw 2. What of the others?
I do not know. Perhaps they remain abroad. Perhaps they bide their time.
We must assume all 4 are united in purpose. You are arrayed against desperate odds, Mr. Blessington. Do not deceive yourself that concealment will save you.
Then what am I to do?
Place every confidence in me. Obey my instructions to the letter, and perhaps we may yet foil them. For tonight, bolt your doors, admit no one, and remain within your chamber. Tomorrow I shall return with further counsel.
God bless you, Mr. Holmes. You are my only hope.
With that, we took our leaves. The air outside was thick and heavy, the lamps already glowing in the misty twilight. Holmes walked briskly, his gaze fixed upon the pavement, his mind plainly engaged upon some complex calculation. Well, Holmes, what say you?
Say that we stand upon the brink of tragedy. Mark my words, Watson, unless we act swiftly, there will be murder done in Brook Street.
That night at Baker Street, Holmes pored over his reference books, muttering to himself, comparing dates and names while I watched in silence. At length he flung the volume aside and addressed me with grim decision.
I have it, the case to which Blessington refers, the great Bond Street robbery of 73. 4 confederates, Randall the elder, Randall the younger, Hayward and Moffat, all sentenced to long terms of penal servitude, and the principal witness against them, one Sutton, otherwise known as Blessington.
Then he is indeed the man.
Beyond doubt, he betrayed his comrades to save his own skin. Now they are free, and vengeance is but a matter of opportunity.
Then surely he must be placed in custody at once.
Tomorrow, Watson, I shall insist upon it. Tonight, we can but hope he follows my counsel and keeps his door barred.
Alas, as I learned all too bitterly, hope is a frail bulwark against fate, for the morrow was destined to bring tidings that chilled even Holmes's iron composure. The next morning dawned bleak and grey. Holmes, who had scarcely slept, was afoot before me, his lean figure silhouetted against the window as he peered into the fog-drenched street below. His manner was restless, and more than once he muttered impatiently, striking his hand against his palm as though rebuking himself for inaction.
Watson, we must go at once to Brook Street. I have delayed too long already. The matter has passed beyond ordinary precaution.
You fear the worst.
I fear inevitability. When men such as Randall and his companions swear vengeance, it is not idle talk. Come, we waste precious minutes.
Within half an hour we were once more before Dr. Trevelyan's handsome residence. To our surprise, the hall door stood ajar, and within the passage there was an air of hurried confusion. The butler, pale and trembling, rushed forward as we entered.
Oh, gentlemen, thank heaven you are come. A dreadful thing has happened.
Speak, ma'am. What is it?
Mr. Blessington, he is dead.
I confess I staggered at the words, while Holmes's face grew set and grim. We followed the servant upstairs, where Dr. Trevelyan awaited us upon the landing, his countenance ashen.
It is true, Mr. Holmes. I went to his room not an hour ago and found him as you shall see.
He threw open the door, and we entered the chamber of our late patient. The curtains were drawn, the air heavy with the stale odor of fear and tobacco. Upon the bed lay Mr. Blessington lifeless, his face distorted, his limbs twisted in convulsion. About his neck was the unmistakable mark of strangulation. Hushed, merciful heavens, they have reached him.
Coldly, as I foretold, observe, Watson, the deep furrows in the carpet at the foot of the bed. The man struggled desperately, yet he was overpowered.
Holmes bent swiftly to examine the body, his keen fingers noting every trace. The bruised throat, the clenched hands, the overturned chair beside the bed. Oh, he rose at last, his eyes blazing with suppressed fury.
He was murdered not more than 3 hours ago. The villains gained access by cunning, not force. See, the lock shows no sign of tampering. They were admitted.
Admitted? But how?
Curtly, tell me exactly what passed in this house yesterday. Leave nothing untold.
Yesterday afternoon, two gentlemen called asking to consult me. One gave his name as Mr. Snake, Cassia, the other as his friend. They spoke of nervous afflictions, and I received them in my consulting room. They remained perhaps 20 minutes, during which time Mr. Blessington descended and joined us. The moment his eyes fell upon them, he turned ghastly pale, and without a word fled back upstairs. The visitors exchanged a glance, excused themselves, and departed soon after.
Aha! And you did not suspect?
I thought their behavior strange, but never dreamed.
Cutting and strange, it was deadly. Those were no patients. They were his enemies, reconnoitering the ground. Last night they returned, this time prepared.
Holmes strode about the chamber, scrutinizing every corner. He paused at the bedside table, where 3 chairs had been drawn close.
Look here, Watson. 3 chairs grouped together, facing the bed. Do you see the inference?
That 3 men sat here watching him.
Precisely. They came, admitted under some pretense, and once within, locked the door upon themselves and their victim. They seated themselves thus, and with grim ceremony pronounced judgment. Had he, the betrayer, lay cowering upon his bed. Then they rose, and one, perhaps all, seized him by the throat. Thus ended Sutton, alias Blessington, the traitor.
It was execution rather than murder.
Well said. The law calls it murder, they call it justice.
At that moment, the door opened, and Inspector Lanner of Scotland Yard entered with 2 constables. Holmes greeted him curtly, and in a few words explained the situation.
So, Mr. Holmes, we have another of your grim tragedies. You say 3 men?
Undoubtedly. Their footprints are upon the stair, one narrow, one square, one intermediate. They lingered here some time, for the ashes in this grate are still warm. They burnt papers, perhaps warnings or tokens of their vengeance.
And the motive?
Vengeance upon a traitor. Blessington was Sutton, informer against the Randall gang. They are free, and they have fulfilled their oath.
Grimly, then we must hunt them down without delay.
You will need all your resources. They are desperate men, but clever. Already, they may be far from London.
Holmes turned once more to the body, his face set in lines of stern pity.
He brought this upon himself, Watson. Had he chosen candor at the first, we might have saved him. But guilt and fear are twin gaolers. They chained his tongue until it was too late.
Poor wretch, to live in dread so long, only to perish at last by the very hands he betrayed. Inspector Lanner busied himself with formalities, while Holmes and I withdrew to the consulting room. There he flung himself into a chair, his features pale with weariness, yet his eyes alight with the cold fire of triumph.
The case is clear, Watson. The only question is whether the law will overtake the assassins before they vanish utterly.
And what of Dr. Trevelyan?
He is an innocent man, entangled in a net not of his weaving. He shall emerge unscathed, though the memory may haunt him.
At that moment, the storm, which had been gathering all day, broke with sudden violence. The windows rattled, the wind howled through the chimneys, and rain lashed against the panes. It seemed as though nature herself echoed the tragedy enacted within that house.
Come, Watson, Our work here is done. Let us leave the law to its labor.
We stepped out into the tempest, our cloaks whipped about us, the thunder rolling overhead. Yet even through the tumult, I could not banish from my mind the vision of that chamber, the three silent judges, the cowering figure upon the bed, and the hand of retribution closing inexorably upon the traitor. The storm that raged that night seemed in keeping with the dark business at Brook Street. Holmes and I returned to Baker Street, weary, wet through, and silent. He lit his pipe, drew deep upon it, and sat for long minutes in his armchair, staring into the fire. I waited, for I knew well that in such moods his thoughts ran deeper than any question of mine could plumb. Holmes, do you reproach yourself for Mr. Blessington's fate?
Slowly. Reproach? No! Regret, perhaps. A man who betrays his fellows to save himself cannot expect mercy when they are free. He sealed his own doom the moment he chose to turn evidence. Yet, had he spoken fully at the outset, we might at least have given the law a chance to shield him.
And now?
Now we must trust that Inspector Lanner casts his net widely. The quarry are cunning, but their very desperation may betray them.
And this, Holmes was more prophetic than he knew, for within the week, tidings reached us at Baker Street which brought the matter to its final close. Inspector Lanner himself arrived, a sheaf of notes in hand, his manner brisk though, tinged with a certain grim satisfaction.
Mr. Holmes, I thought you would wish to hear a sequel. The three men you described, Randall the Elder, Randall the Younger, and Hayward, did indeed make good their escape from London. We traced them as far as Southampton, where they shipped aboard a vessel bound for the Americas.
And you allowed them to pass.
Not so. The telegraph is a swift ally. Word was sent ahead to the port authorities and their descriptions circulated. The vessel, however, sailed before she could be intercepted. Yet fate, it seems, is not always deaf to justice.
What do you mean?
3 days out from port, the ship encountered heavy seas. She never arrived at her destination. Wreckage has been sighted, and the crew, passengers, and our fugitives with them are presumed lost.
Then the sea has taken them.
A rough tribunal, yet as sure as any court of law. The betrayer and the betrayed, all alike swallowed by the inexorable tide of destiny.
Inspector Lanner departed soon after, leaving us to our reflections. For some moments we sat in silence, the only sound the crackle of the fire. At last I ventured to speak. Holmes, do you not find it melancholy? Here was a man who sought to reform, to live respectably, yet the sins of his past rose against him.
Shaking head, my dear Watson, repentance purchased by treachery is no true reformation. He betrayed his comrades, not from remorse, but from cowardice. And cowardice, like debt, demands its payment in full.
And yet he lived in terror for years, always dreading the knock at the door, right? Was that not punishment enough?
Punishment, yes. Expiation, no. The world is not so forgiving. His fate serves as a reminder that we cannot sever ourselves from the past by mere change of name or dwelling. The deeds we commit cling to us as surely as our shadow.
Holmes's words, though stern, rang with truth, I confess. My heart softened toward the poor wretch, imagining his sleepless nights, his frantic pacing, his desperate clinging to secrecy. Yet I could not deny that in betraying others to save himself, he had written his own sentence. Later that evening, as I prepared my notes of the affair, Holmes reclined upon the settee. Ha! Eyes half closed, his fingers steepled. He spoke as though to himself, yet his words were meant for me.
You see, Watson, the value of facts. Had Blessington revealed his history in full at our first meeting, we might have summoned the police, guarded the house, and perhaps averted his end. Instead, he wrapped himself in concealment, and concealment proved his winding sheet.
Quietly, it is a sobering lesson.
Indeed, and one worth remembering. When danger arises from the past, silence is seldom safety. Truth, however bitter, is the only weapon that can disarm vengeance.
With that, he lapsed into silence, and I, respecting his mood, asked no more. The fire burned low, the shadows lengthened, and the wind moaned softly beyond the windows. Thus ended the singular affair of the resident patient. An affair which began in apparent triviality, yet unmasked one of the darkest dramas I have ever witnessed. Yayo, to this day, when I pass along Brook Street and see the windows of that house, I recall the stout figure of Blessington, trembling in his chair, and the dreadful justice that awaited him, and I reflect that in our frail humanity, no man, however cunning, can wholly escape the consequences of his past.